For me, Pool C at the World Cup, probably one of the more predictable pools based on recent performances. So Canada, South Africa, India, and Belgium. Can either of you see a shock beyond the standard ranking in that? So looking at India and Belgium top two, Canada third, with South Africa fourth.
Not really, no. I think there's a clear top two in there, and then it's Canada and South Africa scrapping for the third place. If South Africa play at their sort of top level, they could cause Canada problems, but I think it's really hard to see it going any way other than the way everyone thinks it's going, basically.
Yeah, I think Canada will come third, definitely, with that. They're, in my opinion, fitter and more structured than South Africa. So I think that's what happened.
Do you know much about the South African programme? I mean, it's limited in terms of the resources that they have. They've got players playing in different countries.
It's basically camps, so they go back for that. They meet up every so often for camps with the squad. Obviously, there's been one of their players, Keenan Horn's been playing up at Brooklands in the freezing Manchester weather, so I'm sure that'll
bode him well for Bhubaneswar.
I'm sure that's prepared him brilliantly for India. But yeah, it's just kind of camp based, and it's a lot of them. It's taking time off work, and it's doing what they can before and after work, which is obviously something you're well aware of how that works. So I don't know, it's going to be really hard for them.
Well, the coaching team has talked about a culture and a consistency, and I guess when you go to a competition like this, you spoke about it earlier on, it's about whether they can just get one result. They must be looking at that Canada game going, this is our opportunity, one result into that third, and then can we deliver for the games moving forwards?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So yeah, that'll be their target game. That's the one that they'll probably do the most kind of research on and have all their chats about. But you can over prepare, and then you can play scared. So if they want to target that game, they need to be full with confidence and go out and take it. Because I think if they start to play timid, start to second guess themselves, that's when all of the little holes in their press and their structure will fall apart.
And on a world stage like this, potentially with the big games, I mean, they've got India in their pool. There's going to be thousands of people watching. Yeah. They've got some inexperienced players in their side. In that environment, can that be... will players react differently to that? I guess the answer is obvious, but will players react differently to that? Can you thrive from it, or is it a freeze in the headlights moment?
Oh, it's definitely it'll make or break you. It's when you watch it on TV, nothing spectacular could be happening on the pitch, but the Indian crowd are going absolutely crazy, and it's deafening sound. So it's whether you think, right, I'm going to thrive off of that, or I'm going to block it out. And you need to decide kind of what kind of person you are and use that, but you need to be prepared for it. So yeah, hoping that no one freezes, because that's not the best. But yeah, hopefully they must have had them prep for that, especially if they're inexperienced, things like that. I'm sure their management would have helped them.
I'm absolutely certain that I talked about it. Yeah. There is a whole different ballgame between talking about 6,000 or 7,000 screaming home fans when they come up against India in Bhubaneswar. That crowd will build during the course of the tournament, but they're a massively passionate population for their hockey, particularly in the Bhubaneswar, in the Odisha area. So India, though, in front of their home crowd, they've been building. They are more consistent as a side than they were 5 or 6 years ago. What do you see coming out of them?
Well, they won the Asian Champions Trophy, didn't they? Which is obviously a sort of good competitive matches coming into this. I think that it's really interesting. Like, I follow quite a lot of Indian hockey accounts on Twitter, and they're never happy. And it's extraordinary. Like, they've won that title, and yet all the tweets I saw was the coach shouldn't be picking this guy. This guy's terrible. This guy's terrible. And so I wonder how much pressure there is on them. There's no doubt they have some really talented players. Akashdeep, Manpreet, Srijesh in goal, obviously a goalkeeper.
I want you to name check every goalkeeper at the World Cup before the end of this.
No, but I mean, Chinglan Sana's a good player as well. So they've got really talented players, but I just wonder, like, you know, you talk about the pressure on the other teams playing India, but I sometimes see a lot of social media reaction where it must be pressure for them in terms of fear of failure and not wanting to let everyone down in their home country, and what that can be like. And, you know, I've not played in front of crowds like that, and I've not played in front of a passionate home crowd that maybe might turn on the team. But I wonder if there's an element of that could happen, and, you know, could kind of go against them. I don't know. I've not experienced it, so it's not something I can really comment on. But yeah, just with what I've seen online, I wonder if that could be an issue for them.
Well, obviously we shall see. But if with your experience, Nicky, the difference in how a team such as India play compared to an Australia, we talked about the brutality of Australia. But what about the Indians? What do you see from them? What's their strengths?
Their skill, their quick hands. They play hockey. Sometimes you think they shouldn't be able to get past someone, and they've managed to do that, and they do it again. And so it's kind of the unpredictability that they have, but they mean to do everything they do. And so it's also sometimes can appear unstructured, but to them it works. And so trying to set a press against them or mark them is sometimes impossible. So it's trying to, you know, think on your feet, trying to problem solve on the pitch, because you might prepare for them to play one way, but actually a few different players on the pitch want to play a certain way this game. So that's what they're allowed to do. So yeah, it's the unpredictability of India, which is a massive strength to them most of the time.
Well, that history and tradition of India, 1975, their last World Cup win. They've got Olympic pedigree. It's one of the homes of hockey. The other team in that pool, not such a long-term international history. Belgium, built through the last 10 years, let's say, from a relatively small hockey population, but are absolutely bossing it at the top, number 3 in the world rankings with some incredible players.
Yeah, it's something that sort of we spoke about earlier when we were talking about England's lack of experience. The number of caps that the Belgian players have got, you know, you've got 26-year-olds with 200 odd caps and stuff, and it appears, I'm not an expert on what they've done, but it appears as though they basically just decided that this group of players is going to be the one that takes us through, and they started building, you know, when those players were quite young. And, you know, they've got, I mean, you know, the depth of players that they've got in that group that they've brought through as a cluster that sort of then peaked and started winning medals. I mean, you know, Charlier, John Doman. I nearly said the goalkeeper's name there.
Go on, drop it in.
Vincent Van Asch, obviously. Leipart, you know, Tom Boone. Felix Denayer is a cracking player. Florent Van Obel's absolutely brilliant as well. I mean, you reel off those names, and those players would get in most teams in the world, and make most teams in the world better. So I think, you know, they deserve a lot of credit for sort of almost starting from scratch, and now they're sort of reaping the benefits, and now they've got this conveyor belt of players coming through. You know, you speak to some of the coaches over there, and, you know, you say, oh, so-and-so is a good player, and they go, oh, we've got a kid who's 17 who's going to be better than him. You go, oh, what about him? He's a good player. Yeah, we've got a kid who's 16 who's going to be 10 times as good as him. And you think, obviously some of it's going to be bravado, but you do think, like, man alive, what are they going to be like? You know, if these players are good, if they've got better ones, what are they going to be like? So, yeah, they're a fantastic side. So, yeah, I think they'll do very well.
Thank you. That head-to-head, that Indian-Belgium, when's that Indian-Belgian clash as we go through the competition? Midway through, so we're about a week in, and we'll see that India-Belgium matchup. If we make the assumption it'll go with ranking, that game itself, which way do you think that'll go?
I mean, it's going to be a feisty game. I am going to say Belgium to win that one, just because I agree they've put time and effort into a cluster of players, and they're starting to reap the rewards of that. And I think it's definitely over the last few years the consistency with Belgium has improved, and I think they'll rise to the occasion, even with the crowds against things like that. I think I think they've got what it takes. I'm going to say they're going to win by a couple of goals.
Okay.
Well,
We'll look forward to seeing that. It will, however, be an absolute cracking game too. Not fierce. I don't think fiercely contrasting styles, because I think the Belgians are pretty much one of the sides who will have the pace to match the Indians. They've got some incredible speed, and with Briels coming back in, I think it just creates that front triangle or four that can really work through midfield. But yeah, we shall see.